Hi, this is Lori, or Paint Girly as I'm sometimes called. Today I'm going to do a video on painting light bulbs, and I have an order for a whole set of the Charlie Brown or Peanuts characters. So I thought I would do a video. Probably it's going to be two videos because I'm going to show you how I paint them, and then I think the second video I'll show you how I dress them and put the ribbon on them. So you can hang them on your Christmas tree. I kind of fell into this craft. I'm a member of a co-op in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and the gal that used to paint on light bulbs for Christmas ornaments moved to Florida, and I was asked to step in and do that craft, and it's been a lot of fun for me and very successful. So I thought I would share with you how I go about doing that. Now, I start the process by just using a regular incandescent light bulb, and then I paint them and decorate them, and people use them to hang on Christmas trees or a shaker peg, or really you could hang them anywhere. I have them hanging all over my little work area here. So I thought I'd show you a few. This is a Harry Potter one. I put a tie on this guy, and it's just a very simple design. It's got a scar there. You might not be able to see that real well. And then just the glasses. This one is a snowman or snow child, and I just put a little tag on it that says First Christmas and a little sleeping face. And this is kind of a little gnome Santa Claus face. This is just a simple little, I kind of got his hat down a little low. But yeah, I just, this is a sock that I use for a hat. And then embellish them however I want. And then you can hang them on your Christmas tree or wherever. I do put some on blocks of wood at times too, like Easter rabbits and chicks and a variety of things. But today I'm going to do my Charlie Brown set. And so what I start with really is just a plain old light bulb. Now when I first started painting on the light bulbs, I base coated them by hand, and you can do that. Although if you are going to base coat them by hand, I recommend you put on your first coat just using craft paint, acrylic craft paint, and then let that dry overnight, especially if you're not used to painting on glass or light bulbs. And so I'm wondering if maybe I should zoom in a little bit here and adjust my camera maybe a little bit. It might be a little better. But as I've developed my technique in this craft medium, what I do now is have my husband spray paint a base coat on the light bulb. Make sure the light bulb is clean. And we like to use, it's Rust-Oleum's, it's a double X. Mostly I have them base and spray them white. Sometimes I do black, depending on what the finished bulb will be. But generally I have them spray white. If I'm doing pumpkins, we just go with the orange. The Grinch is very popular for me at Christmas, so we spray those green. But a lot of them are just white. It gives me a nice surface to work on, and then I go from there and base coat whatever I need for whatever character I'm doing. So he sprays these, and we let them dry. Don't worry about the top too much, because for the most part that's either going to be covered with ribbon or a hat, so we don't worry about that too much. And then I just base coat according to what I'm making. So today I'm going to do Charlie Brown, Lucy, Peppermint Patty, Snoopy, Woodstock. And so I have a variety. Here I used, I I usually either use folk art or Americana. Americana is my paint of choice. You can get that at your local craft stores. And I wanted Charlie and his friends to be a lighter flesh color, and I just happened to have a light flesh in the folk art acrylic paint. So that's what I used for these. So they were white, and then I did 2 coats of the flesh on these bulbs, and just used a regular craft brush, soft bristle brush. For Woodstock, I used the Americana, and it's called Primary Yellow. And I'll probably use this color for Sally Brown's hair. And then I did put 2 more coats of white on the bulb that I'm going to use for Snoopy. And this bulb, you'll see, is shaped different than my other bulbs. And that just happened to be what my husband sprayed. Normally I would have them all the same, but because of the way Snoopy looks, I think this longer necked bulb will work okay for me. And what I do is just look on my cell phone or my computer. I'm very visual. I don't create too much from memory. I like to have a picture of what I'm working on or trying to create in front of me. So, of course, my computer just went to sleep. So I've pulled up the Charlie Brown gang, and I'm going to go ahead and start these. I like to use a liner brush like this to do any kind of line work. I'm trying to get where my camera is so you can see that. And so I'm going to just put out a little bit of black paint, if I can discover and see where I put my black paint. It never fails. I always think I have everything I need to record, and then I don't. So I've got my little water container here, and I'm just going to put a little bit of black paint out, and I have that just sitting to the right here. And I'm using palette paper today just because I discovered, as I was trying to straighten up, I discovered some palette paper, so I'm using that. And I always take like 3 paper towels and fold them into a square, so I can use that. And then we just get started. So I'm going to start with Charlie, and I'm going to wet my brush first, and then I'm going to go into my black paint. And I like to load my brush with the paint. Sometimes you have to kind of tap off the extra water, and I kind of like roll my brush to make a good point. And this is kind of just got to go for it sometimes. Charlie Brown has 2 dots for an eye and a smile, and his nose looks like the letter C. I try to look at what I'm painting and come up with a shape that it reminds me of or looks like. I don't consider myself a painter, so I kind of have to trick my brain. So his nose looks like a C, and his eyes are on either side of that C. So I'm just going to go into the light bulb, and I'm going to pick where I think I want his nose to be, and I'm just going to draw a C. And then I'm going to get a stylus or something to make a dot with. You can use the end of a toothbrush, the end of a paintbrush. You can use a toothpick. I'm using this tool, which you can use for a variety of things. It just has a little don't know if you can really see that. Trying to get a handle on how this, I'm fairly new to the camera and my computer, so I'm just trying to, I don't think you can really see that very well. It's just a little, it's got a little round end. So I'm just going to put that in my black paint, and I'm going to do a test on my paper to make sure it looks the way I want it to look. Load up my brush and put an eye here. And an eye there. And they're much too small. So I'm going to come back in with something larger. This is another kind of a dotter or stylus I have. I'll test that. I think that's going to be better. And you want to remember to, every once in a while, if you're making dots, clean off the end of your stylus. Because if that builds up with paint and dries on you, your dots are not going to be the same size. Okay. I'm not sure if I want to take off my auto. Maybe that's what I'm having a problem with. It seems a little shaky to me. I'm going to take off the autofocus and see if that works better for us. And then Charlie just has a very big smile. So once again, I'm going to put a little water on my brush. I'm going to go back into my black paint and twirl my brush so it's got a nice point. And you're going to find your own way how to do this. I like to put my little finger down to kind of brace, and then I'm just going to draw. And I didn't have enough paint in my brush, so then you just use your paintbrush really kind of like a pencil. And I'm going to put a big smile on Charlie. The more pressure you use, the bigger your line's going to be. If you stay up on the point, it's more narrow. And I really think I got his mouth up too high. So we're going to try that again. All right, so I'm going to go in and put my C in for where my nose is. I'm trying to hold this. This isn't easy doing this on a camera. I've got my C. I'm going to go in and put my eyes back in. And we'll put his mouth back on. I'm going to come down further. Ah, that looks better. And that's, we've got our Charlie Brown. Now Charlie has a little bit of a curl on the top of his head, and this is always finicky for me because I tend to be more like a perfectionist and I want it to look exactly right. But the bottom line is these are hand painted. It's going to look how it looks. So I'm just going to give Charlie a little curl like that, and he's done. So we're just going to put him aside to dry. I might come back later and fuss around with his lip a little bit, but he's good. Now the next one, let's do, I'm going to do Lucy, and I'm going to use this Charlie Brown face to do Lucy, because I'm going to give her a black head of hair. So see, I can paint over that. So I'm going to turn this around and use the back side. And Lucy has the same kind of nose. Her nose is going in a different direction. No, hers is the same. It's Peppermint Patty's nose goes the other way. So we're going to do the same C shape that we did for Charlie. And then she's just got two little slits for her eyes. And they're right about the same level as her nose. That. Make sure you keep your brush not saturated, but where your paint flows nicely off of your bristles. And then we're going to give her a big smile. Now, if you use a longer brush, it will hold more paint for you. So this isn't super short, but it's not the longest brush you can get either, as far as a liner. Looks like my battery's starting to go. I have to plug in my battery pack. Guess I should have checked that before I started recording. Alright, now Lucy has a couple little waves in her hair, and it comes down around the side of her face. So I'm going to get a different kind of a brush, something that will hold a lot more paint. And let's see what I want to use here. I have so many brushes, and I hate throwing things away. But I'm kind of looking for a medium size. Let's see how this one works. I'm just going to try a round. This is a number 4, but really you can use what you're comfortable with. But if you're painting, you just want to make sure that you wet your brush first, because you don't want that paint to the dry paint to get in and ruin your brush. So we're going to give Lucy some bangs, like a side bang. Let's see, this brush here is not going to work because they're kind of made. Let's just use I'm going to use an angle. This is just an angle. This is probably my favorite brush, an angle brush, and this is let's see, a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to load my paint on, and I'm just kind of winging it here. And it can be wispy and curly. And then I'm just going to fill all this in. Oh, I'm on the wrong side, kids. Jeez, I'm not doing very well. Well, that was a good practice. Need some more black paint. And that's way too much. So now we're going to come around to the right side. Isn't crafting with me fun? So we're going to just give her some little bangs. And then we're going to just paint that all in. Give her some curls around the side of her face. And then we're just going to cover up the back. And cover and just paint that solid black. That's where we had the other Charlie Brown face. Now I could have done a whole new bulb, but I wasn't prepared for making a mistake. And I'm going to paint the back of hers anyway because she has black hair. So it worked out great, really. Now I may decide to come back and do another coat on the black. We'll just see how it covers up. Try not to get your thumb in it, because then you make a mess like I'm doing, getting black all over the place. It's always a good idea to have some baby wipes or wet paper towel next to your work area, so that if you need to, you can always clean your fingers off. I'm just going to come around here and make that part of her hairline. And you want to make sure that your paint dries well. Often I use my heat gun to dry a layer of paint, but you have to be careful with that because it gets really hot and it will bubble your paint, so you don't want to get too close. Alright, so there's our loose. So we're going to put her aside to dry. The tricky part with working on light bulbs and getting them to dry, I use an egg crate. Let's just see here, let me show you. And I cut off the lid, and sometimes I cut holes in the bottom so I can flip it over and stick the bulb in. I'm going to get a baby wipe out here and clean this black paint off my fingers. Now, Woodstock just has two little slits for eyes and a smile. I'm just going to give him a smile and two little slits for eyes. And let's see. Sally Brown, she's got the yellow hair, and her face is like Charlie's. We're going to put her nose going in the opposite direction. So, and her hair is a little different than Lucy's as far as the shape of it, but it's basically the same idea. So let's do Sally Brown. And what you shouldn't do, which I often do with my other brushes, but I never do it with my liner brush, don't let your brushes sit in the water because it can curl your bristles. And then you have to use them for a glue brush or a base coating brush. And I don't pay a lot for my brushes because I know that I'm hard on them. But it really is a good idea, especially if you're new to crafting and painting, to take care of your brushes and don't let them sit in water. Wash them out, with some mild soap when you're finished working with them. All right, let's see. Now we're going to give Sally the same kind of nose that we gave Charlie. According to my picture, it does look like it's going the other way. So let's give her a nose that's going this way. And her mouth is just a little slit. So we're just going to give her a little slit down here. Just a little straight line like that. And she's got dots for eyes as well. The biggest thing with the Charlie Brown characters is getting the placements of the eyes. I mean, they're really simple to paint, but you just want to make sure you get the eyes in the right spot. Even if you just tap them in little at first, and then you can make them bigger. And try to get them the same size. Now, if you're really good, you can just paint these little circles. But it's a lot easier to use some kind of a stylus. Now, Sally with the yellow hair, we're just gonna paint that in, and I'm using the Americana Primary Yellow. And you can really see, you can see her ears. So maybe we'll give her some ears. Maybe we'll do an ear over here. I'll do an ear over here. And then we'll put her hair around that. So let me find, I'll use a filbert brush on this. So again, I'm going to wet my brush. And she doesn't really have bangs. She kind of just has like a little poof around the top here. So we're just going to color this, paint this all in yellow. And then when that dries, I might come back and put some like hairlines in for her. And the same thing that we did with Lucy, we're going to color the whole back of the bulb the yellow. It's just to give the idea of the character. Doesn't have to be exact. So I'm going to flip her over, do a better job. Try not to get my fingers in the yellow. So we're going to just come around the bottom. And really, this is just a created piece, so however it turns out, it's an original. Sometimes you might need put a little bit of water to your paint. That's the one thing I do like, especially for the painting on the bulbs. I like the Americana better because it's a little more liquidy, a little more fluent, and or fluid, I guess I should say. And it moves a little easier on the bulb. If you want something to cover really well, though, the Folk Art is good because that's a thicker consistency paint. That's the paint that Donna Dewberry uses for her one stroke, and she needs that thick paint so you can blend those paints together and make those paint strokes. But for coverage, generally, let me turn my cell phone off so we don't have to hear that dinging. I'm going to come in here and hopefully not mess this up. Well, maybe I should let it go. Her eyes don't look too bad. And just kind of straighten out that eye a little bit. Alright, so that's Sally. And then once this paint, oh, it's pretty dry there. She kind of has all kinds of little squigglies up in her hair. Like little curls, little doodads. So we're just gonna, and you could do this probably once the paint is really dried well, and either spray or paint on a sealer. You could probably do this with a marker, but you don't want a marker with a stiff tip or a hard tip because it'll scratch your paint off. So you're just going to stay up on the point of the brush and just make little curly Q kind of squishy marks to just make it look like Sally's hair. And then she's got a couple of little, just a couple little strokes off to the side. And we'll call her done as far as painting. So that's Sally. Woodstock is just 2 slitty eyes and a smile, so that's what we're going to do for him. And then when I embellish him, I'll put some yellow flowers. And these are for Christmas, so I'm going to be doing like Santa fur around their faces. So for Woodstock, I think I'm just going to go like that. And then we're going to give him a smile. And that's all we're going to do for him. Snoopy is very similar, but we're just going to give Snoopy a big nose and 2 slit eyes, and see if I have, this might work. I always find that when I paint, I end up with favorite brushes. And I always tend to go towards those, and when they wear out, then I'm sunk. I'm always looking to try to buy the same kind of brush. This is this one that I'm using is just a number 2 round, and I'm going to take my Snoopy and look for a good spot on the bulb, and I'm just going to paint really just a big dot, kind of not real round, but just like a dog nose. That's all Snoop's going to get. And he has 2 slitty eyes and a big smile. And then what I'll do is I'll cut out 2 pieces of black felt, and I will glue those to the side of his head to make him 3D. You could paint, if you don't have any black felt, you certainly could paint his ears on. I've done that too. And we're going to give Snoop a big smile. And there's Snoopy. Just make sure you let that nose dry really well. All right, let's see. Who do we have next? Let's do, I'm trying to see if I have a good picture of Linus. I haven't done Pigpen before. So that'll be different. All right, so Linus has got the dot eyes and the nose like Charlie and Sally, and of course he's got the crazy hair. So we're going to come in here again. We're going to give him his little nose. Again, I'm using my thumb to make my hand stable, and then I'm just using the very tip of my brush I'm making that little C shape. I've got several lights on here. I think my paint's drying out a little bit. So I'm going to come back in and kind of fix that up a little bit. And he's got a big smile as well. We're going to give him eyes. At first eye always looks good. It's the second eye I'm having a trouble with. No, that's not bad. And then he has little C shapes on the sides of his eyes, or little dashes, and he's got little eyebrows as well. So we're just going to give him little comma strokes over here, kind of half comma strokes. And then he's got little eyebrows. And then we're going to give him some hair. He's just got all kinds of little wispies that come all over his face in different directions. Just remember, if you're leaning your finger down, you don't want to lean it in wet paint. So I always have to watch myself because I generally stick my finger in wet paint. He's also got some ears. Let me give him his smile. I think my liner brushes days are numbered. Okay, I think that's all we're going to do for him. Okay. Then we're going to do Peppermint Patty. And she's got freckles. And she's got a great big smile. And she's got some eyebrows. So I like to start with the nose because that's like the center of the face, and then I can place my other features. So we're going to give her the little C nose, and then we'll put her eyes in. And her hair's kind of like a reddish brown. And she's got two little slanty eyebrows. So we'll give her those. And her smile is always kind of like a big filled in smile. So we're just going to go like that. Now you can always make it bigger, but once you make it too big, you can't really make it smaller. So I caution you, start small – and then you can adjust if you need be. And like I said, she has freckles, so we'll need to put some freckles in here for her. And then I have to pick out a color that I want to do her hair. Maybe like a nutmeg. I don't want it too red. And she kind of has a definite side part, and it comes down on the sides pretty straight along the side of her face. Now we got to give her some freckles. And I'm going to use the smaller end of the stylus for those. I want to do them really small, so let me get a smaller. That might be better. Looks like she's only got like 3 little freckles here. And you really should tap into your paint every time you want to make a dot. Let's see what we have here. I have a color called Candy Bar. This is a Delta Coat color, but this is a really old bottle of paint. But that color, to me, is like perfect for her. A lot of times when my paints they've not been used for a while, they sit and they separate, and then I have a hard time shaking them so they mix well, and then you get that like oily surface liquid that comes out, and ugh, that's just a mess. I don't know how I get this paint all over me like I do. Okay, so now we're going to go back to Peppermint Patty. And her hair kind of comes way over like this and then straight down the sides of her face. So I'm going to do the sides of her face first. I'm just going to kind of block that in. And I often, I color and do a lot of different craft things, and I always am turning and flipping my work. So I apologize, but that's kind of just how I roll. I'm going to curve this a little bit, and I'm going to make like strokes for her hair. And you can do this any way you like. But her hair kind of comes down like that. And then I'm just going to fill in. Again, if you look at the cartoon, there's a lot of black lines that kind of define how her hair goes. And once this dries, I'm going to come back in and put some of those strokes in. But I'm just going to fill this in. The whole back of her head. Now, if you wanted to put like a stocking hat on these and use socks, and you wouldn't have to necessarily paint all this hair, because the hat would cover most of it, like I did on this Santa. See, I bring it down around the back of the bulb and glue that down with a hot glue gun. And it depends on the color and the look that you're going for. You may have to put another coat. But I kind of just wanted this to look like streaks of hair. So I'm not sure that I'm going to go back on her and do that. Now the only one I have left to do, like I said, is Pigpen. I have not done Pigpen yet. The first year I did Charlie Brown and I did Snoopy. That's all I did. And then this year I added Lucy and I added Linus. And then I was doing a craft show and a customer asked for Peppermint Patty, and I thought, oh geez, why didn't I ever think of her? So so then I had a couple of orders for Peppermint Patty. And then this gal wants the whole gang, and so we added Pigpen in there too, and Woodstock. Okay, so she looks cute. I see a couple places in her mouth where I could use a little more black paint. Just go another little stroke of paint in there. So I'm going to let that dry. Sometimes I need to set them upside down and put the light bulb part in. Now these light bulbs do not work anymore. I tried to, and people save them for me. Blown out bulbs that are going to be discarded. For my particular needs, and for as many people that like to purchase them, I often have to buy some. But if you think you'd enjoy this and would like to do this to give to as gifts to friends and family, start saving your light bulbs, because once we decorate them up and put the ribbon on them so they can hang, we've had customers ask us if the light bulb works, but in most cases, because I do reindeer, I do Santa, I do all kinds of snowmen, the Grinch, bears, winter bears, gosh, I can't remember them all. Harry Potter, I did the platform 9 3/4, we did the Snitch. What else do we do? Like snowmen are really probably the most popular. All the Charlie Browns, Winnie the Pooh, Mickey Mouse. A lot of different animal types. Some people request certain things for grandchildren. And you can always personalize these too and put the year on them or put the person's name on it that you want to give them to. Alright, so we just gave Luce another coat on her hair, which is good. That's good. Now we just have Pigpen. I'm not sure how we're going to do the pig. Let me get my picture back up here. I never thought about Schroeder either. Well, Pigpen we're going to do about the same as we did the others, but he just has a lot of lines and marks all over his face. He's got some eyebrows. So we're going to go back with our liner brush, get into the black. So really, if you have some craft paint at home, your basic colors, white, yellow, black, and a flesh color, you can make the Peanuts gang. So we're going to give him a C shape for his nose. And again, really, if you're not real good with a paintbrush, you could do this with a marker. And Pigpen has a frown rather than a smile, and his frown is small. After you do several sets of eyes, you get better at it. And we're going to give him little straight eyebrows. And we're going to give him a little frown. Just little. He's very cute. And then we're going to give him, he's kind of got hair that kind of goes up and kind of crazy. But then he's got a lot of dirt and streaks across his face. Down on his chin. We're just making him look a mess. And I think that's about it for him. Here I got the paint a little too wet, so I'm just gonna kind of dab that off. And then when I decorate him with his hat and his fur, I'm gonna try to cover most of that up. And that's it. So the next video will be where I'll show you how I attach the ribbon so they hang, and then I'm going to put some fluff on it to make it look like a Santa cap, you know, like the fur on a Santa cap. And before that video, I'm going to take a brush and a brush on sealer. I probably will use, if you want it glossy and shiny like a glass ornament, you want to look for a gloss varnish. But I also have a satin that I use sometimes. It just depends. So before my next video, I will put on a coat of this over the entire bulb. That will seal your paint and give you a nice finish. And then you need to let that dry very well. And then I'll have my glue gun ready, and I'll have ribbon. I'm going to use red, and I'm going to probably, in fact I could do that now too, I guess, just to show you briefly. You don't have to sit here and watch me. But the top part of the bulb where you would screw it into the your light fixture, that part is where we're going to attach our ribbon. And like I said, I'll use red, so I'm just going to use whatever kind of red paint you might have sitting around. This is, I found this on clearance for $1 or something, and this is just an acrylic red paint. And what I do is I'm going to cover the top with ribbon, but sometimes it doesn't, you might still see some of the silver through, so I don't like that. If you're fine with that, you don't even have to do this step, it's up to you. but I like to make sure I'm not going to see any light of day through my ribbon. So what I'll do is with each of these, and this is probably going to take at least 2 coats, but I'll do this before I varnish, so I can varnish this as well. You also, if you can use a spray sealer. Where I am, it's very cold. I'm in Jersey, and it's winter now, and spraying in a ventilated area where you have some heat, it's not always easy. Our garage is not heated, and the spray sealer, sometimes if it gets too cold, it sprays and makes like a white film on your piece. So I've just been using the brush sealer. But I'll just come back to all of these. And it doesn't have to be red. You can do it any color you want. You don't even have to dress them in Santa hats. You could leave them, like Lucy, you could do this all black because her hair's black. And then use black ribbon. And then if you wanted, you could put a bow in her hair or a flower or whatever you wanted to. Some people have special trees that they leave up all year long. Like I did a girl, I did a giraffe for a girl because she has a giraffe tree. Or people collect owls. You know, you can, it's different. They're kind of, you know, just like a fun novelty kind of an item. People seem to like them. They're painted on a light bulb, and so it's unique and different. And so we've done some different things. I was thinking next year I might even try to do a set of the Charlie Brown and dress them like they're in the Nativity, like dress them as shepherds. Use little pieces of material. This is going on pretty good, so I might not even need a second coat because, like I said, it is going to have ribbon around it. And I generally use a 1/4 inch ribbon. It wraps nicely and covers pretty well, and you don't have to use a lot of ribbon. But really, you could use whatever you might have on hand. Just be careful if you are doing a bunch of them like this. If you're not careful with your brush and you're messy and you're using your brush, it'll spray, and then you're going to end up with red dots all over everything. And some of these I put a pom-pom on the top, so I'll just see how they look when they're finished. I don't know if I'm going to do that with these. And then I said I was going to do Peppermint Patty. She's got needs some detail work in her hair. I can hear my husband on the phone. Let's see, Peppermint Patty, if we can. There she is. Yeah, she just kind of has some striping. So just come back in here with my black, and I'm just going to follow this edge. Of course, I got a big hair in my brush. All right, kids, some of you move out of the way here so I don't know if you can see me. My hand's in the way. And she's got another little line here and a line here. And then she's just got a few lines down the side. And there she is. All right, so in the next video, I'll see you and we'll finish these off. Thanks for watching. See you next time.